This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Do you play FanDuel and feel like you aren't creating consistent money-making lineups? Go over to the DFS Doctors on Twitter at the DFS Doctors and DM them with promo code Detroit Sports to get a free trial for their analytically formulated 70% lifetime profit rate NFL and NBA lineups. The whole purpose of playing daily fantasy sports is to get out there and compete and give yourself a chance to win. So go over to the DFS Doctors. Let them help you. They have analysts on staff that look at the best optimal lineup that you can put out there to win money. So why not take advantage? At the DFS Doctors, promo code Detroit Sports.
CBD is a game changer sweeping the nation. This hemp extract is the natural way to elevate your mood, eliminate aches and pains, reduce anxiety, and keep you sleeping all night long. It can even cut your workout recovery time in half. Get in the game today with 20% off all orders of CBD and lavender products from Lavender Lane, a lavender farm located right here in Milan, Michigan. Just go to lavenderlanemi.com today and enter coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order. Guys, look, these amazing products are infused with calming lavender to maximize their effectiveness, meaning your CBD items only take minutes to take effect, which is way quicker than those pills you were about to swallow. On top of it, they are perfect for men and women. Lavender Lane has lab-tested CBD creams, tinctures, and roll-ons that are perfect for any situation, even if you're on the go. Put your health back in your hands by heading over to lavenderlanemi.com and entering coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order of CBD and lavender products. What do you have to lose? Your satisfaction is guaranteed or your money back. So if you need lavender gifts for your loved ones or just looking for the natural way to ease your discomfort with CBD, go to lavenderlanemi.com and use coupon code Detroit to unlock these miraculous benefits of CBD and lavender. That's lavenderlanemi.com. And remember, use coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your CBD and lavender products from Michigan's own Lavender Lane.
I was trying to get it how I live. I want them dead presidents. I want to pull up, head spin, get it, get fly. I got 6 jobs, I don't get time. I don't get time. I don't get time. I don't get time. Get it, get fly. I got 6 jobs, I don't get time. Full-time artist, ex-guard, he said grind hard to learn from every.
Welcome to Two Bad Hombres. I am the Doc, John Macaroon, bringing you great Detroit sports entertainment. This week, got a lot to get to. On Saturday, the news broke. Danny Amendola's coming back. That's on the heels of Damon Snacks Harrison, the report that he is going to be released by the Detroit Lions. I want to kind of talk about the Detroit Lions and the news of the week later in the podcast, kind of tying it into how the fans are having a real hard time embracing the tank because of, in all the sports here in Detroit, it's hard to embrace tanking because the confidence is really low in terms of the general managers that are running these teams. I think only one general manager has any credibility in this town, and rightfully so. We'll talk all about that in the second half of the podcast. I do want to talk a little bit about some interesting things that I'm seeing online to start. Okay, for the first time ever in my life, I'm so busy that I don't even have the opportunity to research something that has taken over the internet. Like everybody else, I'm on Twitter. I'm doing research for the Detroit Lions, checking out all things in regards to free agency, what's going on in the combine, what's going to happen for the Lions, who's coming and going, who's going to be signed, who's not. So I'm all about it. I'm researching to do the work for SI Lions Maven, and I come across this video, like everybody else, of this young, what appears to be a very young boy that's crying and just so agitated and frustrated, and his Aussie mother is consoling him, and she's really just pleading to the camera. She's saying, look, my son is bullied. My poor kid. Look, and this poor young man. And if you didn't cry, I don't know what else will make you, what else will bring a tear to your eye. Because for me, I'm watching it and it's heartbreaking because, for those that don't know, I am a full-time psychologist as well as a podcaster and a writer for SI Lions Maven. So part of the work I do day to day involves helping kids deal with bullies. So it hits home to me personally in terms of helping kids stand up to bullies, how to handle it correctly, how to change the notion that every kid should whoop the ass of the other kids, because this day and age that could get you in more trouble. So day to day, that's what I do. So to see the video, it hit home because he's so frustrated and tearful, and he's pleading and just so defeated that he's talking about grabbing weapons to hurt himself. And I'm sitting there watching the whole thing, feeling bad, wondering, man, I wish that I could be of help. I wish that he'd come across my path so that I could say, hey, who cares? Because I'm a guy that myself wasn't bullied like that in terms of just relentless day in, day out, because I could hold my own. I was funny in high school. I played sports. I could hold my own and just give it back twice as hard and twice as funny. So that was my way of replying to all the short jokes and the Middle East jokes and the overweight jokes and all the things that I came across. Definitely, it didn't make me cry because I had great self-esteem. That was the one thing that I can thank my parents a million billion times, was they instilled in me super great self-esteem. I love myself. I respect myself. And I did not let anybody's words ever really bring me down. Now, it bothers you, of course, but not to the point where this young man, I believe his name is Caden from Australia, is affected, almost suicidal. And it brings up, it makes you wonder, is the work that we're doing in terms of helping people out, is it really working? Are we getting the anti-bullying message really out there? And hell, I'm doing my part. I know that. Spreading the message of loving yourself and having good self-esteem and how to change perceptions and how to help speak assertively and respond to stupid bullies at school and making kids have a good time when they're with me. And that's why I'm so thankful for the job and the blessing to be a psychologist. So, you start then to hear, okay, the humanity has been great. You see all these celebrities starting GoFundMes and raising monies to be able to send this young man to Disneyland and make him feel better and give him some money. And then you just come and you're making conversation with a friend, as I did a couple days ago. And I'm like, did you see that video online? Did you see that poor young man crying? What'd you think? And things like that. And quickly, my friend's like, bro, that's fake. I'm like, wait a minute. What do you mean that's fake? He's like, I was on Facebook and there's photos spread of this guy giving a finger and waving money, and this guy's a IG influencer, and this is all fake. And I'm sitting there going, no, come on, this can't be fake. Get out of here. This can't be fake. There's no way that this young man and his mother would, perpetrate this. Now, I have, and you all have too. I know you have. You've seen the fake GoFundMes of those that are seeking help via GoFundMe, and yet they're fake. They're people that actually have money and take people's money and take advantage. So I would not be shocked if it was all fake. But actually, I'm so busy that I have no time even to research this thing thoroughly the way you're supposed to. So I'm taking it to you people. And I'll ask on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast, is this fake? Is Caden and the bullying, is this all a hoax? Have we been bamboozled to help out a kid? And is this all a money grab? I find it hard to believe, but this is the first time in my life I'm so busy. I have no time, literally in my day, the last 3 days, to even look this up. With researching sports, hanging out with family, enjoying time with my wife, the 3 jobs I'm working, I literally have no time to sit there and research this. And I'm not even going to bother doing it here online as I'm looking at the computer. I'm checking out Twitter currently as I'm recording this podcast on this fine Saturday, a beautiful 50-degree day in Saturday. That's why I'm such in a good mood. You hear the passion in my voice. You hear the excitement. I was outside getting batteries to be able to record this nonsense. And so I came back, enjoyed the sun. Oh, man, it was a good day. But I want to ask you, is this fake? Did this young man really get bullied? Is he really struggling with life? Would his mother be implicit in this scheme? Come on. I don't know. I don't know what to believe, because of the fact you see those photos and they're not too appealing for this young man, with him wearing Gucci and, waving the middle finger up in the air and the like. I'm just so fascinated that in terms of a story that we can't just try and help out what we perceive to be a young man that's struggling without people, really looking closely at it and wondering, is this really fake? And then the way in which I've seen it on message boards has been, I was skeptical all along. I had no faith. This wasn't real. I can't believe, I don't know how a family, how a young man and his mom could orchestrate this whole thing and not really understand the ramifications of what was going to happen. This would be a scam at the highest level if this was true. And so, I don't know. I'm going to take the stance and I'm going to believe. I'm going to really, really look at the bright side of humanity, that people came out and supported this young man who's actually struggling. And you got to imagine, can you imagine what this kid hears every day? Dude, no offense, but the kid's not the best looking kid out there anyway. So he's out there and he's got to hear, comments made regarding his height, his appearance. He's got to be facing unbelievable scrutiny every single day. And you give him credit for, fighting the good fight and trying to deal with it. But, how can you not show compassion to a young man that was obviously struggling, tearful? Was that all an act? Could he have just gone out there and faked all that? Let me know. I'm going to ask the question on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. Was this a hoax? Was this all an elaborate ploy to win the hearts of the nation and the world? Because everybody now, you see the video, seen millions of times online. So I have to wonder. I just have to wonder. And that's the sad part, is being, a podcaster and being somebody that is hopeful in society, having to wonder if somebody out there, if a family orchestrated this elaborate hoax, made a video, let it go viral, and still I don't believe we have an answer at the time of this recording. So let me know. Let me know on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. Was this whole charade, was this whole video, this whole thing a ploy as a money grab to win the hearts of people? Let me know. Or let me know if I'm wrong, if I'm completely wrong, if the person that they've shown on the interwebs is a completely different person. Fill me in. One of the rare times I'm not even going to bother to take the time to fully research anything. I'm just going to ask the question. You guys are going to help me out. At Detroit Podcast. Thank you. Fill me in. Let me know what's up with this crazy story that popped up this week. Now, getting back to Detroit sports, something I'm much more passionate about and familiar with in regards to the things I'm doing day by day, especially, in my life. It's psychology, it's sports. Those are things definitely you guys can tell I'm very passionate about. In the world of Detroit sports, right now, it's a fascinating time because you got these 4 professional teams. We are all sitting here as fans wondering, okay, what's the direction going to be for the Tigers, Pistons, Lions, and Wings? And it's such a crazy way to take a look at it that all those teams right now are in the midst of a rebuild. The Lions are going to try and sell you that they're not rebuilding, that it's win now. But there's no way when you look at the roster turnover on defense, what's going to happen, who's going to leave via free agency. It's hard to really buy into the fact that it's win now. Even though you have the Lions organization, even though you have Matthew Stafford, it's still hard to believe that this is win now. When Snacks Harrison gets cut and released, you might be trading Darius Slay. You might be letting go of Graham Glasgow. So it's going to be a fascinating look. Now, maybe one of those two will return, and I think it's more important to bring back Darius Slay because I do think the Lions value defense a little bit more right now than the offense, and I think they can plug in other replacements along the offensive line to kind of get the job done, or they can replace Graham Glasgow cheaper via free agency or the draft. So I think that negotiations potentially could actually be ongoing with Darius Slay to bring him back. That might be fascinating because there was some cap space that was saved. Not a ton, but some cap space became available when the Lions did, in fact, release Damon Snacks Harrison. But getting back to all the teams, the reason why there's been this underlying debate regarding tanking is nobody on board in Detroit really should believe in tanking because, in essence, it means that you support the teams going out there night in, night out and losing. Now, I get the argument that, yeah, it's in hopes of rebuilding and restocking for a championship, but you have to understand, okay? Now, I'm for tanking in theory. I definitely support the notion that if you're not a title contender, if you're not a team that's poised to win it all, win the Stanley Cup, win the Lombardi Trophy, win an NBA title, if you're not poised to win it all, to win the World Series, then you got to do what you got to do to rebuild. And that involves selecting the highest possible in the draft. Okay? But those that are opposed to it, the fans and media and people that are against tanking, I understand why. And it's because of the fact that the general managers in this town, outside of one, Steve Yzerman, have no credibility. None of you guys believe in Al Avila, Ed Stefanski, and the roundtable of management that the Pistons are showcasing. None of you, I don't know why you would, none of you have the proper amount of respect for Bob Quinn, and especially with the moves that he's made recently. So I can understand where all of you would say, how can you want the teams to draft as high as possible? How can you want them to, get as many ping pong balls in there in the draft if, when it comes down to selecting anyway, the general managers are going to bungle and fuck up the draft anyway? I understand. And that's why it's so hard for all of us to embrace tanking, because at the end of the day, these general managers have not done a good enough job of finding steals, of finding these diamonds in the rough in the later rounds in these drafts. Not good enough. Now, the Pistons and Tigers are teams that are rebuilding. The Pistons just started their rebuild, but you would look at it and you say, okay, these guys now are in the midst of true tanking, the Pistons and the Wings. Night in, night out. It's going to be a situation where when these teams take the court and the ice, they're going to lose, and lose a lot. And so for me, I'm patient. I understand it. I get it. Now, you look at the Tigers, they're a little bit further along. You're starting to see some of the younger talent now. You're going to see some of the young pitchers. You're going to start to see some of the young talent make their way to AAA and to the big squad in Detroit. Do you think that the Tigers have enough, that they've done a good enough job with Al Avila? I'm skeptical. I don't think he's done the best of jobs in terms of what he's gotten. You realize, as you look at the trades that have been made for Justin Verlander and for J.D. Martinez, the only thing that you can sit back and wonder is, did they get enough? Do they have any guys that are impactful from those trades? Not enough. Yes, there are some players that have been brought in that will turn out to be something, but to the level where the Tigers are going to be competitive enough, to the value that we perceive that J.D. Martinez and Justin Verlander had, question marks. You look at the Pistons and you look at their decisions. They don't trade Andre at the right time. They don't trade Blake Griffin. They're buying out Reggie Jackson. They're buying out Morris. They don't get nothing. They don't get no picks. And everyone's like, you're giving away the roster for free, for nothing. How's that going to work? Exactly. And that's why I think a lot of fans just don't understand tanking or don't want to embrace it, is because the general managers have not done a good enough job to say, we are poised, we are working diligently, no matter what, that when we go out and scout, our scouting departments will bring in the talent that's needed. Now, the Pistons now do have a leg to stand on. They can say, look, we have a young cat, 19 years old, Sekou Doumbouya. We got him up here. You've seen him, flexing on Tristan Thompson. You've seen what he can do. But now he's a rookie, 19 years old, and Dwayne Casey's come out and said, I got some concerns because of the recent rough patch that Doumbouya has experienced. So he's not a superstar yet. We can't peg him. And that's the problem, is that as a society, we want win now. We want to see the guy, we want to see the drafted players show up. And what do we get? Patience. All across the four teams. You got players like Philip Zadina that goes to Grand Rapids, marinating in the minors. You got these young cats that take forever. The Lions' recent first-round pick, 2019, number 8 overall, T.J. Hawkinson. Does he show up game 1? Yes. Does he show up the rest of the season? No. Injured. Doesn't come out and ball out. Doesn't give us that, oh, yeah, he's the guy. This is the great pick from Bob Quinn. Nope. More question marks. And that's why I believe that the fans hate tanking. They won't embrace it. They can't look at these general managers outside of Steve Yzerman with the proper amount of respect and confidence that they're going to rebuild. I think all of us that sit back and watch go, sit back with a skeptical eye and wonder, are these guys going to ever do it? Are we ever going to have Detroit? I mean, literally, Are we ever going to have Detroit sports in a realm outside of college that will be competitive? And it's just so tough. It's so tough being a Detroit sports fan that you wonder, is it ever going to turn around? What's it going to take for these teams to handle their business? And I can't sit here with any level of confidence and tell you. Those that are selling you hope, I don't know what they're basing it on. If you're a Lions fan, Pistons fan, Tigers fan, Wings, look, give credit to Steve Yzerman. He's done it in Tampa. Only year one on the job. He gets the benefit of the doubt. He's earned it. I believe he's going to turn it around quick. I think that probably the Wings might be the team that returns to the postseason the fastest. Might be in 2 years. Now, if the NFL enacts and votes what I think they should, then maybe the Detroit Lions can find their way, back their way in to the postseason. And I'll tell you all about that next here on Two Bad Hombres. The reason why we are able to broadcast daily here at the Detroit Sports Podcast is because of great sponsors. And the fine sponsor of this week's broadcast of Two Bad Hombres is the Motor City Pawnbrokers. The Motor City Pawnbrokers are the one-stop pawn shop when you're looking for quality, brand name, new, and pre-owned merchandise. With locations in Detroit, Roseville, Ferndale, and Warren, their mission is to deliver exceptional value. If you're driving around and you're near one of the 4 locations, stop on into the Motor City Pawnbrokers. Ask for Mark and the crew. They are dedicated to bringing you great, amazing customer service, great deals. Go online today and visit www.motorcitypawnbrokers.com. That's www.motorcitypawnbrokers.com. If you're near one of the locations, stop on in and tell them the Detroit Sports Podcast sent you. Mark and the crew, they'll take care of you. The Motor City Pawnbrokers, a great sponsor of the network. All right, back here, Two Bad Hombres. Great news for the Lions in that the collective bargaining agreement, the new rules that the owners want to enact hasn't been passed yet. And by all accounts and reports, the union will indeed vote on the new rule changes and proposals next week. Not sure if they're going to ratify, but the one rule that I really, really like, the owners want to expand the playoffs from 12 teams to 14. And how that's all going to shake out is currently, under the current system, the 2 top teams in the conference, in each conference, the AFC and the NFC, they earn a bye, and there's 4 teams remaining that play on opening weekend. Under the new agreement, there would only be 1 bye per conference. Do you know how much the regular season now matters that much more? Probably eliminates teams, unless a team, is a runaway number 1 seed, eliminates teams sitting players late in the season. So you have an opportunity now to add 1 additional team per conference. So you would have 3 games per conference, an additional game per conference. That means that opening Saturday and Sunday, you're going to have 3 football games instead of 2. More football. And for the Detroit Lions, you have to like it. You have to love it. You want this to be ratified. I know there's other talking points in regards to the schedule and the 17 games and the money split and where funds will be allocated. And I think the big sticking point that's preventing the ratification is the limit on healthcare. I believe the players are willing to play 17 games. They're willing to concede, but they want the owners to provide lifetime healthcare. And that's a sticking point because that involves a bunch of money, a huge investment. So that might be debated. That might be debated heavily, and I wonder what you guys think. Let me know at Detroit Podcast. Do you think the owners should provide lifetime care to these NFL athletes? I'm of the opinion, yeah, of course, but I can understand owners where they're like, whoa, 5 years is a lot. Lifetime is a huge investment, but there's money to be made. So you are asking owners, in fact, to cut their profits, and I'm not sure how much these owners are willing to do that because they're making these rule changes, obviously, to increase the amount of money that goes in their pockets. So that'll be a sticking point. I think if I'm a master negotiator, I would say they fall maybe in line with not lifetime, but upping it to 10 years, 12 years. Upping it to a point where if a player retires at 28, he can get quality health care for 10 to 12 more years until they're 40. That should be enough time to rehabilitate. That should be enough time to put everything in place that's needed. Now, there should also be exceptions made to those that are indeed struggling with signs of mental illness, of signs of CTE. Exceptions should be made, but universally to allow lifetime health care, I'm not sure that's going to pass, but we shall see. But going back to the idea that 7 teams per conference, I like it. And I put on an article, I wrote about it, and I know people joked and laughed and said, haha, look at the Detroit Lions setting the bar really low. Look at this, should we just give the Lions participation trophies? Yes! If there's an opportunity for the Lions to get in, they would have qualified one more year with Jim Caldwell. The Lions would have got in. Now, they would have lost. Come on, let's not sit here and fool ourselves and believe that they would have won, but they would have participated in the playoffs one more occasion. That might have actually turned the tide of the franchise. Jim Caldwell might have had an opportunity to stay and hang on a little bit longer had he said, look, of my season, 3 or 4 years, I'm in the postseason. Come on, give me a break. But I like it. I am on the side of the owners on this one. I like what they've brought to the table. I like the ideas and the changes that they've made. I'm not down for changing it up, gimmicky style like the XFL. Let that be different. Let you continue to tinker with the game in terms of pace. Maybe one. The one thing I would adopt is transparency in the replay booth where we get maybe a camera, maybe post-decision to kind of look back at what was said and analyze how these guys in the replay booth, how they break it all down, what they look at. But by and large, I like the game of football. I like it a lot. I like the structure. I watch it every week. I'm definitely now covering an NFL team here in Detroit. So I'm happy with it. I'm happy with the model. 17 games, that provides some interesting logistical questions. But by and large, I like the game of football as it is. And I hope they adopt. I hope they adopt it, and I hope the Lions are the first 7 seed, and maybe they can win a playoff round, go on the road, and be one of those teams, the first 7 seed that actually goes on the road and wins out, gets to the Super Bowl, wins the Lombardi Trophy, and we can have some ultimate success here in Detroit. But if you listen to the opening segment, that's just going to be far-fetched if you got Bob Quinn making highly unusual decisions. Just real quickly, I don't want to end on a negative note. The news that broke on Saturday, Danny Amendola's back. It looks good for the Lions. The trio of Jones, Galladay, and Danny Amendola will be back. Some continuity should be good if you get a returning Matthew Stafford. But I like the response that people had. Were like, wow, look at Detroit fans. They're so desperate that a 35-year-old coming back makes them all happy. Hashtag Stockholm Syndrome. You fans are funny. I laughed at that. I thought that was quite classic. Yeah, it's not significant. It's not huge. I mean, a guy that got 600 total yards, I get it, 1 year older. You should have the fear that he's going to pull a Snacks. And now it's a thing. Yes, I'm going to call it. I don't think that Amendola is going to pull a Snacks. He will be out there. He'll grind. He'll play a lot of games. He's not going to tank it in. And not that Snacks did, but, you got your contract, Damon Snacks Harrison, and then your production all of a sudden bottomed out. All of a sudden, your injuries mounted. It's kind of questionable. Now, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt that that's not what you did, but I could also understand if you're playing for the Lions, rehab might just take 1 or 2 extra weeks longer than it should to get back on the field because it's a grind. Getting out there and getting your tail kicked in every week is no fun. No fun at all. So you're Bob Quinn. You made your first couple moves of the offseason. It's going to be a big couple weeks. Evaluating what's going on at the combine, getting all these interviews done. It's going to be important for Bob Quinn to have a thorough understanding of what he's doing because he should be criticized. His drafts have not been good enough. But decent start. The one thing you can question regarding Damon Snacks Harrison is why on earth did they give him that extension? Nobody understands why. I mean, he had a contract. He's an older player. So what if he's grumpy? If you don't give him that contract, you did the same thing to one of your own. You didn't offer Darius Slay that money. I think that, the legitimate question you could ask is why didn't you just flip the script and make the different decision? Give Slay the money, let Snacks play it out and show what he can do. It's clearly a wrong decision. One of many that Bob Quinn has made, and that's why we're highly critical here at SI Lions Maven. No butt kissing going on. None whatsoever. We give credit where credit's due when it's earned, and we criticize when needed. That's the job. And I think we do a good job at SI Lions Maven because you guys are reading it. And I'm so thankful you are because, this podcast went from my basement all the way to a great website that covers an NFL team with a credential. And I think, I can let the cat out of the bag, I think I'm signed up for year 2, which, look, there was never going to be a question how hard I was going to work, but great to be able to cover sports in town here in Detroit and be able to podcast every day. You guys know I love it. I love talking on this microphone. I love the investment that has been made in this podcast. It has not gone for waste. So thank you guys. Stay positive, stay hopeful. Let me know, again, was it a hoax? I'm being lazy for once. Thank you for tuning in. Shout out to my man Vito. He's grinding behind the scenes. I can't do all this at the podcast without the help of my crew, all the hosts that believed in me, all the hosts that broadcast on this platform. Give them a listen. All the shows, Monday through Sunday, Detroit Sports Podcast. See everybody next time on the next edition of Two Bad Hombres.